And I would say it should be concerning to any citizen if you have raw sewage being discharged in public areas when our civilization, our society is based on certain guidelines and certain sanitary and health guidelines. While we have seen discharge from yachts in the bay over the decades that my family has lived here, the volume has been increasing. We have observed an increase in the large discharges, which, to be honest, we are struggling to determine the exact source, because there are some discharges that occur in the Prickly Bay, so Chublu on one side, Lansepine on the other, area that could not possibly come from a single yacht. I'm talking about waste discharge in the range of hundreds of gallons of raw sewage. As well, I did want to raise the issue of, we do have some apartment buildings in Chublu which support the St. George's University students and faculty that house dozens of guest tenants. And currently, some of them are not attached to the Nawassa sewer system. So they discharge openly into a plot of land that exists close to the sea on the opposite side of Chublu, and that makes its way into the ocean on that side. So you find that we're inundated in this particular area with three areas of concern: the large discharges, the consistent discharges from the yachting sector. I mean, I have been crying out for assistance on this for quite some time. And when I couldn't take it anymore, I did my own research and paid for my own testing to be done. So I would have hired a drone operator. And on one particular point in time, a year and a half ago, there were 140 yachts housed in the Prickly Bay area. Now, 140 yachts with residents on them. And it was my understanding that the laws of Grenada required you to be out at sea to discharge your waste. But the honest truth is, Dr. Bob, most of these yachts do not move from their moorings for, in many cases, weeks, months. And in some cases, I can attest that some have not moved out of Prickly Bay because I live right here for years on end. So we know, and through interventions with people in the industry, we've learned that many of these yachts do not have functioning holding tanks. Many of them who have functioning holding tanks don't operate them, so they just flush the waste directly into the ocean. Now, you may ask, what concern is that to me? Well, it's a concern to me because my family, myself, and friends interact almost on a daily basis with the ocean. So apart from the smell and apart from the visual and the health concerns, you have the issues arising now of what is referred to in marine biology as nutrification, an influx into the ocean of high levels of nutrient from the human and even pet waste, because lots of these yachts persons have cats and dogs, and these waste is getting into the sea. And to be honest, there's been a proliferation of algae and weed blooming in the area, and that has significantly, in my mind, contributed to the death of the coral reefs in the area. And right now, some of the weed and algae that's proliferating inside here are of the anatomical makeup of a net. So it will be killing, literally killing. And you think sargassum is bad? We have constant landfalls of all different types of algae and weed based on the nutrification in the area. And we've seen significant die-offs of several species. But many members of society, many Grenadian citizens and visitors visit these locations, in particular the one where the apartments let out, and don't know what they're bathing in. They don't know what they're fishing in. So basically, I think it needs to be a great concern. When I did water testing 2 years ago, the levels of human waste in the water, according to the Bureau of Standards, was 5 times the acceptable level in this area. Educate. But we are walking a very, very dangerous line where you have whole species dying off in areas. You have issues where you have the proliferation of dangerous algae levels blooming because of the nutrification. We do need to pay particular attention before we cross a threshold we can no longer revert and walk back over.
Talk to us about those algae levels. I believe that marine biologists, environmentalists tend to be concerned when those algae levels gets too
Okay. So yeah.
elevated.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I do typically is when I discover something, I don't tell somebody what I think. I play as ignorant as I can and I ask the authorities. So the first one I brought to a marine biologist. She pulled out all her reference books. We went through it, and the first observation is it was not necessarily featured as an algae present in this ocean in Grenada. But she said to me when I was leaving, she said, Hayden, I do know it, and it tends to proliferate where there is human waste. And then I just nodded because I knew. The recent discovery of a type of algae here was so pervasive in the area where I live. You couldn't walk through the ocean without it tying up your legs. I showed some friends the pictures of it, and they thought I had discovered a ghost net, a ghost fishing net. It was of the anatomical structure of a net. And what do nets do? Capture and entangle animals and fish. So I'm saying again, the volumes here have become so that it is stifling the environment, the ocean, the near shore creatures are literally being killed. You cannot walk through in some areas, it's that much. It's carpeting in some areas. It looks like, it actually pictured can look like dirty water. And when you go to it, it's actually weed and algae that's just covering the ocean floor, the seabed. Dr.
So
Bob, my
yes.
family was one of the first 4 families to live in True Blue when it was undesirable. It was just bush, briar, campeche, crabs, and mosquitoes here. And we moved in proudly so. My father built the house in 1970, sorry. So you're talking about many decades of residence down here. And I'll be honest with you, it's played down that it's not, these issues are not serious. You're correct. It's considered in a lot of cases that we can just deal with it ourselves because all of us have money, but you're correct. A lot of ordinary people live in here as well, a lot of working class people. But it's a difficult situation to sit by and look on. I've tried my best through all measures. I was accused on several occasions of doing Grenada a disservice. But I think the disservice is to ignore the problem and allow it to balloon to something that's out of control, which then will affect Grenada in an irreversible manner. And not for our visitors and our tourism industry, but for our own indigenous people. There's a lot of movements afoot now of respecting our own people, respecting our soil, respecting our heritage. And these things I'm discussing on a consistent basis and raising attention to goes against all those principles.
Hi everyone, thanks for checking out the Bob Report's social media pages. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch our weekly live show, follow our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch repeat episodes on Wednesdays at 4 and 5 p.m. respectively on CRFM Radio and GBN TV in Grenada. We are also viewed on Sundays at 8 p.m. on WPG 10 throughout the Caribbean. Thanks for watching.